The Triangular Trade Artifact Project by Thomas Sinclair. Geography of Canada. New England. New England was the closest to Canada the triangular trade reached to. Some of the ports in New England used for the trade were Halifax, St. John's, New York, and Boston. These were known for trading grains, tobacco, and lumber. Colonial success. Success of the triangular trade system was determined by the geography of where the ports were located. Being able to have more stopping points to trade goods was a way to positively affect the trade's colonial success. The reason that North America's colonies did so well was because of how much room they had, much unlike England's east coast port cities such as Norwich, which were isolated and hard to reach. Industrial Revolution. Slavery. For many countries, slavery did more than just create a source of free labor. Although it was a horrible thing, it eventually led the way in creating a network of systemic exploitations for trade that formed the integrity of the Industrial Revolution. Investments, finances, and innovations. Because of the increased manufacturing, many traders and merchants involved with the trading of slaves began to invest heavily in banks for loans. With the increase of money for the banks, wealthier people began investing in their own things. One of these investments being the Boulton and Watt steam engine, which was a powerful driving force for the Industrial Revolution. The steam engine was financed by the William Deacon Bank, which was established by wealthy plantation owners. The fur trade and European imperialism. European exploration. Europe's imperialism all began with their exploration to find new land for commerce and trade. Europe wished to subdue inland ethnic groups after their conquest of Africa. This was so they could establish complete colonial rule and to exploit the land's mineral resources. The beginning of the triangular trade. The trade began when Europe colonized Africa. Slaves were then purchased from West Africa. The slaves would be brought to the Americas to produce materials like cotton. Then the cotton would be sold to Europe to create textiles. The textiles were then sold to Africa for more slaves. The Canadian Confederation. U.S. ends free trade. At the end of the Civil War, Northern American politicians were angry at Britain for its support of the South. Due to this, America had decided to end the practice of free trade between other nations and put taxes and tariffs on all of their goods. This, in a way, ended the triangular trade in North America and strengthened the argument that a confederation be created for the British North American colonies. This would become the Canadian Confederation. The American Revolution. Boston Tea Party. Tension rise between the American colonists and the British. This was because the British had at the time imposed the taxation without representation for all trade between the American colonies and the British. The colonists formed the Boston Tea Party in December of 1773 in protest. By dumping 342 chests of tea in the Boston harbor, Britain eventually repealed the taxes it imposed on the trade. This act was the first major act of defiance the colonists showed toward the British, and was a major step for them becoming an independent country. The Tea Act. Even after the British repealed the taxes on the colonies, they continued to tax them on all trade of tea. The reasoning behind this was because of how much money the British received due to the amount of tea consumed by the American colonies. In protest, the colonies boycotted all tea traded by the British East Indian Company. Historical look on British Columbia. Francis Drake. Francis Drake is a very important member of the beginning explorations of what would now be called British Columbia. Drake is most commonly known for his association with the early European exploration of the Pacific Northwest, i.e., Oregon, Washington, and BC, but he also holds a strong connection to the triangular trade. Francis Drake was related to the Hawken family and grew up with them in Devon, UK. One of the members of the Hawken family Drake grew up with was William Hawken. William was the first Englishman to establish a triangular trade. Drake also learned much of his shipment skills and navigational skills from William.